Hi, I'm Jackie Evancho, and I am so excited to be here in the United Kingdom to sing for the show Britain's Got Talent.
In 2010, a shy 10-year-old girl with a voice far beyond her years stunned America on live television. Jackie Evancho didn't just impress the judges, she silenced a nation. Overnight, she became a symbol of innocence and talent, her ethereal soprano dubbed otherworldly by the media. But as cameras turned off and headlines faded, a very different story was unfolding behind the scenes. Today, that once celebrated prodigy stands almost unrecognizable, not just in appearance, but in spirit. From platinum records and presidential performances to battling a life-threatening illness and redefining her identity, Jackie Evancho's journey has taken turns no one could have predicted. So what really happened to the girl they called an angel? Long before the world knew her name, Jackie Evancho was just a curious child growing up in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Born Jacqueline Marie Evancho in April of 2000, she was raised in a tight-knit family alongside 3 siblings, surrounded by strong values and a deep sense of community. Her father ran a video security business. Her mother stayed home to care for the children. But from an early age, it was clear Jackie had something extraordinary. At just 8 years old, everything changed after she attended a local production of The Phantom of the Opera. The experience was nothing short of transformative. Captivated by the grandeur and emotion of classical music, Jackie began mimicking operatic voices at home. Her parents, surprised but supportive, enrolled her in vocal lessons and encouraged her to sing at churches, school events, and even nursing homes. With each performance, her confidence grew. Her voice wasn't just technically strong, it carried emotion, depth, and maturity well beyond her age. She soon began uploading videos to YouTube, where a small but devoted following started to take notice. In 2009, she independently released her debut album, Prelude to a Dream. While modest in scope, it was a striking early declaration of her raw talent and ambition. The foundation had been laid. Jackie Evancho wasn't just a gifted child, she was a rising storm. In the summer of 2010, Jackie Evancho went from online curiosity to household name, almost overnight. At just 10 years old, she earned a spot on America's Got Talent through a YouTube fan vote, a digital wildcard entry that few expected would shake the competition to its core. Her audition stunned the judges into silence. Performing O Mio Babino Caro, Jackie delivered a soprano so polished and ethereal it seemed impossible for someone her age. Judge Howie Mandel called her an angel from another planet. The performance went viral, headlines followed, and a quiet girl from Pittsburgh was thrust onto the national stage. Week after week, Jackie delivered breathtaking renditions of classical staples, Ave Maria, Time to Say Goodbye, never once faltering. A show-stopping duet with Sarah Brightman proved she could stand beside a global opera icon without losing her footing. Although she ultimately finished as the runner-up to blues singer Michael Grimm, the verdict was clear. Jackie Evancho had already won the hearts of millions. More than just a contestant, she had become a phenomenon. But the real question was, how would a child that young handle such sudden and overwhelming fame?
Following her breakout on America's Got Talent, Jackie Evancho made history fast. Within months, she signed a record deal with Columbia Records, and her debut holiday EP, Oh Holy Night, soared to the top of the classical charts. It went platinum, making her the youngest solo artist ever to achieve that milestone in the United States. The industry wasn't just impressed, it was captivated. In 2011, Jackie released her first full-length studio album, Dream With Me, produced by legendary composer David Foster. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, a remarkable feat for an 11-year-old. Collaborations with classical icons like Barbra Streisand and Susan Boyle cemented her status as more than just a novelty act. Jackie Evancho was a legitimate force in the classical crossover world. Prestigious venues opened their doors: Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, even performances before U.S. presidents. Jackie's presence commanded respect on stages many adult performers never reach. Albums like Songs from the Silver Screen and Awakening showcased her versatility, blending cinematic classics with operatic precision. But with this acclaim came something less visible: pressure. Industry expectations, media scrutiny, and the public's fascination with her youth began to weigh heavily behind the scenes. The Prodigy had become a global name, but maintaining that image would come at a cost. While the world applauded Jackie Evancho's composure and poise, behind the curtain, the expectations were growing heavier. Fame had come swiftly, but so had the burden of maintaining it. As she transitioned from childhood into adolescence, Jackie began to sense the unspoken demand. She had to stay the perfect prodigy. Audiences adored her angelic image, but that image quickly became a cage. Jackie's natural growth, both personal and artistic, clashed with the public's desire to keep her frozen in time. She wasn't just performing music, she was carrying the weight of an identity crafted for her. By her late teens, the tension had become impossible to ignore. Jackie wanted more. She no longer resonated with the classical crossover niche that defined her early years. Instead, she yearned for creative control, for music that reflected her real experiences, emotions, and evolving worldview. It wasn't just about changing genres, it was about reclaiming her voice. But for a young woman known only as a child star, stepping outside the mold would take more than courage. It would require transformation. In 2020, Jackie Evancho made a bold and unexpected move. She re-entered the national spotlight, not as herself, but in disguise. Competing on Season 3 of The Masked Singer under the costume of Kitty, Jackie took the stage with a mission: to be judged not as a former child star, but as an artist. The show's format, built on anonymity, gave her exactly that chance. Hidden behind layers of costume and mystery, she performed pop, jazz, and blues classics, genres far from her classical comfort zone. Songs like Amy Winehouse's Back to Black revealed a rawness and edge that most fans had never seen from her. This wasn't about nostalgia, it was evolution. When she was unmasked, the reaction was one of genuine surprise. But for Jackie, the experience had been deeply intentional. In interviews, she described the show as a turning point, a platform that allowed her to shed the child prodigy label and present herself as a mature, versatile vocalist. She wasn't hiding, she was reclaiming her voice on her own terms. As Jackie Evancho worked to reinvent herself in public, she was quietly fighting a battle far more devastating than any career challenge. In a candid interview, she revealed she had been struggling with anorexia since her early teens, a condition that took root during a period when the pressure to appear perfect became overwhelming. What began as a concern over body image during puberty quickly spiraled. When dieting and exercise failed to meet her internal expectations, Jackie began eating less. The patterns grew more extreme, more consuming. Behind the polished stage presence was a young woman grappling with exhaustion, emotional numbness, and a sense of isolation. The crisis deepened in 2020. Amid a global pandemic and personal stress, Jackie's disordered eating worsened, triggering serious physical and emotional consequences. But instead of hiding, she chose to speak out. Her recovery hasn't been easy. Jackie has committed to treatment, working with a nutritionist and therapist while undergoing EMDR therapy, a form of trauma-focused counseling. She's been transparent about relapses, about the fear that still lingers and the strength it takes just to eat on difficult days. But through it all, she's held on to music, not as performance, but as therapy. For Jackie Evancho, singing became not just a career, but a lifeline. Just as Jackie Evancho was confronting her inner battles, her world shifted again, this time at home. In 2020, her parents, Lisa and Michael Evancho, announced their divorce after decades of marriage.
For Jackie, whose image of love and stability had long been tied to her family's unity, the news was jarring. But what followed was even more complicated. Rather than separating completely, the family found themselves living under one roof, parents, children, and eventually new partners. It was a rare and delicate arrangement, born out of pandemic-era necessity but layered with emotional weight. Jackie and her siblings had to navigate a new dynamic, watching their parents move on while still coexisting as a family. Adding to the complexity was the presence of a transgender man the family took in, someone rejected by his own relatives. The act reflected Lisa Evancho's growing work with Braveheart United, a nonprofit supporting LGBTQ youth. It also revealed a broader evolution in the family's values and the space they were creating for others, even amidst personal change. Initially, Jackie viewed the divorce as the unraveling of her childhood ideal. But with time and distance, she began to understand it differently. Her parents, she observed, communicated more openly post-marriage. They seemed lighter, more at peace. The love hadn't disappeared, it had simply transformed. In early 2021, just as Jackie Evancho was slowly finding balance, life delivered another blow, this time in the form of a car accident. She suffered 2 spinal fractures. At first, it seemed like an unfortunate but routine injury. But what doctors discovered next raised deeper concerns. The fractures were not typical for someone in their early 20s. In fact, they resembled the kind of brittle bone damage seen in much older adults. Further testing confirmed the unthinkable. Jackie had developed osteoporosis, a bone-weakening disease rarely diagnosed in someone her age. The cause traced back to her years-long battle with anorexia. The accident became a wake-up call, forcing Jackie to confront the physical cost of years of malnourishment. Rehabilitation was grueling. She had to rebuild strength while consuming enough nutrients to let her bones heal, a difficult task for someone still navigating the psychological terrain of an eating disorder. And yet, the weight gain required for healing reopened old wounds. It triggered renewed struggles with body image, forcing Jackie to confront not just pain in her spine, but pain buried much deeper. Still, there was a turning point. Rather than retreat, Jackie used the experience as fuel. She began speaking openly about the dangers of eating disorders and the toll they take, not just emotionally, but biologically. Her voice, once used to sing operatic arias, was now rising for something else: awareness, survival, and change.
In 2024, Jackie Evancho returned, not as the operatic prodigy from a decade past, but as a reimagined artist ready to carve out her own sound. Her EP, Solar, marked a seismic departure from the classical crossover roots that had defined her early career. And this time, the change wasn't quiet. Teaming up with Greg Camp, best known as a founding member of Smash Mouth, Jackie embraced a bold 80s new wave aesthetic, layered synths, vivid melodies, and lyrics that cut straight to the bone. Tracks like Behind My Eyes showcased not only her evolved voice, but her sharpened sense of emotional storytelling. The project quickly gained attention from outlets like iHeartRadio, which praised its surprising depth and sleek production. But for Jackie, Solar was more than just a genre switch. It was a statement. After years of being known for what she was, the girl with the angelic voice, Jackie was finally showing who she had become. A woman shaped by trauma, by transition, by hard-earned independence. And she wasn't asking for permission anymore. Through Solar, Jackie signaled that her future wouldn't be bound by nostalgia. She was done looking back. Her eyes and her sound were now set firmly on what's next.